A lot of owners recognize that they have a problem with their dog, but then they don't understand the underlying causes of it, right? And a big thing that we have to educate a lot of our owners on is the fact that humans feel a lot for their dogs, right? Because they're part of our family. We integrate them into almost every facet of real life. So the anthropomorphizing of their emotions onto the dog can honestly be the sole factor as to why the dog is having issues. So like when we take severe anxiety, right, when the dog is in flight a lot, that is a common thing that we get down here. And a lot of that is due to, one, socialization at a young age, or if it's a rescue, right, it's had a tough upbringing from the ground up and it's never been addressed. And humans are always doing the best thing that they know how to do for their dogs, right? And if the dog goes into fear or safety seeks, the human brain says, okay, make that dog feel good, provide that verbal praise, it's okay, we do a lot of petting, right? And it's actually working against us. Our own good nature is working against us.
Everybody, I'm Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs. Welcome to my podcast. We are a podcast and also a CRM software for dog trainers. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Jared Warren from Southern State Canine. Welcome, Jared.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jared a couple weeks ago at the Professional Canine Development Conference that was held in Ohio that Sam Given was putting on. It was the first one, and Justin Rigney was keynote, and I found you in the lobby area, and that's where we kind of got to meet. And yeah, thank you for coming in and seeing me speak as well and having such wonderful questions. So that was such a great opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it was wonderful to hear you speak. It was that conference was awesome. Took a lot away from it.
Great. Yeah, I did as well. It was super convenient, and I'm excited for the next one. So today I would love for you to share a little bit about Southern State Canine, and maybe we could take a deep dive into how you got started and how you help local pet owners and all the services that you offer. So maybe just share kind of an overview of Southern State Canine.
Yeah, so Southern State Canine, I started about 4 years ago. We just hit our 4-year anniversary. And, we offer private pet training, service dog training, therapy dog training, law enforcement liaison services. You name it, we do it. And all of this really started when I was in the military. My last 5 years of my military career, I was a special operations canine handler and then a canine supervisor. I had, 12 to 13 special operations canine teams under me. My main job there was not only handling and training, but organizing the training and directing operations where we were going to have handlers around the globe. But that's really kind of where my passion for dogs really started. It's my ignition point, if you will. I've always had an affinity for dogs. I've always kind of just understood them, been completely fine around them. So I really took to the training, and my initial training was teaching dogs how to be incredibly controlled and incredibly violent, right? Because we needed them to be. So now I've kind of transitioned. I studied under Justin Rigney for 8-ish months, and I learned a lot from him. He's, not my only mentor, but the person who really kind of instilled every foundation that I have in dog training in me. I credit a lot of my success and a lot of the ways I do things to him. And it's crazy that I keep learning from him. I've seen him speak now, I think, or I've watched him teach now. I think, 20 or so times, and every time it's like the first time I take something away from that man. But after my time with Justin, it really kind of opened my eyes to the dog community and like the dog world, if you will, and that kind of birthed Southern State Canine. In a nutshell, that's kind of what it is. We help a lot of not only pet owners and pet handlers. We provide a lot of services to not only our pet owners and our pet handlers, but to people within the industry as well. We provide a lot of service dog training to service dog handlers, service dog organizations, dogs that go to veterans in need. We're actually in the coming week, we are doing a lunch and learn with a local veterinarian.
Nice.
Where we're going to be teaching them, fundamentals of reading the dog, the sights and sounds of what a potential reaction is. We're going to take a deep dive into behavior. And then we offer services to local rescues, shelters. Like I said, you name it, we probably do it. I'm pretty proud of it because it's literally me and my assistant trainer, Olivia. It's us two. I used to have a bigger team. Some of them have gone their own way, and that's great for them. They've gone on and started businesses and went down other avenues in their life. But it's literally me and Olivia, and we do a lot of things, probably more than what we should do, right? Because we just work ourselves to death like any good entrepreneurs. But it's been a very, very cool ride. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't learn something new every day. So, yeah.
I really get that you're like a lifelong learner, and I love that you're getting out there and continuing to learn and evolve. But there was something that you said that stood out, and it stood out to me because I feel like I had the same feeling when I was a kid. And you just said that you were always completely fine around dogs. And with me, I grew up with chow chows.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some schnauzers in my life. But having that one dog that wanted to he was just stranger danger. And the fact that I was in his circle always made me feel really honored and special. And I'm like, this is awesome. I've just always loved dogs. And I kind of got that from you that and there's something maybe you could share on being completely fine around and just having that natural understanding of their behavior, because pet owners they may get a new puppy and they are afraid of it. It's biting them. So maybe share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of to the same notion, like I grew up around hunting dogs. I grew up around, sporty dogs that are meant to do things that had a purpose, not necessarily pets. Not that pets don't have a purpose. They have a purpose in our life, but we were always doing things with our dogs, right? And for the dog to want to work with you, there has to be an element of trust, right? So when I was young and, we were duck hunting and like we're getting these duck dogs to work in and around us and taking commands from us and listening and making, changes on the fly, that dog has to trust you to provide that guidance. And I've always felt that if you give the dog a certain level of respect, you shall get it in return, right? So I think that's kind of why I've always felt comfortable with a dog. As long as I respect you, it's going to be mutual, right? And dogs never lie to you, right? So I grew up in a single parent home. We won't go into my incredible backstory, but life as a kid was tough, and I've always felt like I've had a dog in my circle. They don't sit there, they don't judge you, they don't lie to you, they don't speak, they just listen and they're there. And every day is day one of seeing you with a dog. Like you walk in the door, it could be 5 minutes, and they're happy to see you. But and I think the whole respect aspect of things has really kind of molded my approach to dog training. A lot of pet owners don't understand that or maybe they do, but you have to build a bond and a trust with this dog. And I think bond building to most pet owners is, okay, I get you into my home, I feed you, I water you, I do all the things for you, I provide you the toys and the freedoms and everything like that, and that's the bond. But it's so much deeper than that. I think people lose sight of the fact that dogs are the only animals on earth that have cohabitated with us for hundreds of years. A dog quite literally knows your behavior better than you do, because they're reading it 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to have that cohesive relationship, there has to be trust, there has to be mutual respect, there has to be reward in it for both parties, right? And there also has to be some consequences for both parties, good and bad, So having that mutual respect and that understanding of working together is really what I've tailored my training approach to. Obviously, I'm a balanced trainer. I train in balanced methods. But I always look, especially with our pet clients that have severe behavioral issues, the anxiety, the reactive biting, forwardness, anything. I always look to build a bond and to build that mutual respect first, to get them to understand, like, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'm here to help you, right? I'm here to be a part of your team. And passing that knowledge on to owners and that understanding, that philosophical understanding that really Justin Rigman kind of instilled in me, is what we really work to pass on. And I say that, and that reminds me of something that actually Travis stated. It's like, my training will never override the bond that I have with that dog, right? So the bond with the dog is always the strongest. And sometimes it makes the owners mad, but when the dog starts defaulting to you in the middle of training, it's like, oh, well, the dog's only listening to you. It's like, well, no, our relationship is different, right? Some relationships with owner and dog are riddled with conflict, and the conflict can be minuscule, but my relationship with that dog is always going to override training. And I think that's something a lot of trainers should really put in their brain boxes. Like, you have to have this relationship, and then grow it over to the owner, and that's our job, is to hand that over. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of went off on 5 different tangents there.
Yeah, it was cool. And I think it really shows everything you've shared so far, that with the average pet owner, they're usually going through something where their dog is causing some chaos. Maybe they want to take their dog to the next level, which is fantastic. But a lot of times it's because there's stuff going wrong and they need a professional and they need help. And when you share it, I kind of get that you can help with all of those, what we consider kind of common problems, like reactivity, housebreaking, jumping up, fear and shyness. Maybe share a little bit about some of the things you can help with on that level with someone that has a dog where they feel like they might need a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of owners recognize that they have a problem with their dog, but then they don't understand the underlying causes of it, right? And a big thing that we have to educate a lot of our owners on is the fact that humans feel a lot for their dogs, right? Because they're part of our family, we integrate them into almost every facet of our life. So the anthropomorphizing of their emotions onto the dog can honestly be the sole factor as to why the dog is having issues, right? So, like when we take severe anxiety, right? When the dog is in flight a lot, that is a common thing that we get down here, and a lot of that is due to one, socialization at a young age, or if it's a rescue, right, it's had a tough upbringing from the ground up, and it's never been addressed, right? So, and humans are always doing the best thing that they know how to do for their dogs, right? And if the dog goes into fear or safety seeks, the human brain says, okay, make that dog feel good, provide that verbal praise. It's okay. We do a lot of petting, right? And it's actually working against us. Our own good nature is working against us. And we have to educate our owners a lot on that, where it's okay to be a little unemotional, right? The dog is looking for guidance, not emotional clarity, confirmation and denial of, hey, is this thing dangerous? Should I be worried about this or should I not be, right? And again, they're taking information from us, how we're reacting to the stimulus, how we are navigating that situation. Because our subtle cues are also going to cue the dog's reactivity or reactions and their emotional state of arousal. But reconditioning that response, right, to unemotional, objective confirmation or denial of the stimulus. And obviously you have to identify what these things are first, right? For some dogs, it's social pressure. For some dogs, it's environmental pressure in the form of noises, light and dark areas, depth, floors, textures. It could be a number of things. And then, it could be spatial pressure. It could be the simple act of, whatever this stimulus is that triggers this response, moving into them, being intrusive, and they're trying to simply get away from it, right? Or in the worst case, some of these dogs that react incredibly negatively, and they react with forwardness, where they're putting teeth on either skin or a thing, right? That's solving the problem. They're attempting to advance their position in the only way that they know how and to alleviate this pressure, right? So we identify those underlying things first, and then we work on the objective communication, confirmation or denial of the correct action in response to this stimulus, right? And then we have to teach that with owners, and it's big in our lesson clients, because you have to go to the scary places to train. You have to go to the areas where the reaction is going to happen, where the stimulus is, and for a lot of people that makes them uncomfortable, but we are that guiding hand to not only the dog but to them as well, to where we can read the dog, we can sense what's going to happen. And I really want to highlight that is, like, a lot of people think dog training is like you're going by a book of things. You do these actions and the dog does this, and like it precipitates a behavior. To some extent, maybe that is true, right? There are principles of dog training, but methodology evolves over time, and a lot of dog training is simply feel. I think Justin kind of describes it as a flow state, right? So when you're in tune with the dog and you're feeling the pressure, if you will, it kind of crawls up your back when it's not okay, right? In a reactive sense, I can feel the dog's energy. It's palpable, and to the regular person who doesn't experience that, it's a difficult thing to understand. Whereas you understand that. You've worked with dogs and you've been in the room, and you're like, I don't like. Chances are the dog doesn't like it either. That's another thing that we have to go over with a lot of our clients is you have to really feel the dog and you have to read the dog. You have to feel the dog on the leash and use all of your senses to get your point across, to provide information and guidance, and to provide that confirmation or denial of certain reactions. And it's tough for some people. Dog training's for everybody, but it's not for everybody, right? It's an incredibly technical task, and you have to practice it.
Could you say that again? Dog training's for everybody.
Yeah, dog training is for everybody, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? There are the people that benefit from dog training, right? And then there are the people that do the dog training. Mm-hmm. Right? So not everybody can do that part. Right? You have to want to do that, because it's an incredibly frustrating task. You're attempting to provide information and communicate with a thing that walks on four legs, can't speak English, and sometimes likes to lick its own butt. So it can be incredibly frustrating. And you have to have the patience, you have to have the know-how to do that. And that's, some people kind of are like, they kind of balk at that statement, but it's true. Dog training is for everybody, but it's not for everybody. I would like to be in the MLB. I love to play baseball. I am not going to be in the MLB. I am not a pro baseball player. But, baseball is for everybody, but it's not for everybody.
Yes, yes. Well said. Now, could you speak on, let's say there's someone listening right now that's in your area, that's in the Georgia area, and they have a dog that is fearful, reactive, just not doing well out there on walks or when people come over. Could you share a little bit about how important it is to seek out a professional such as yourself sooner than later, in the sense of like every time you have more repetitions, and what's happening when we don't start changing things?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are a dog owner that is experiencing the incredible levels of anxiety, reactivity, flightiness, whatever it may be, it's better to seek training early rather than later. Most people, in my experience, wait for that big reaction or that one event that's like, okay, now we got to do it, right? Seek guidance and seek training early. Try to get in front of the problem before it becomes a bigger issue, right? Especially if you have no idea what you're doing, and I mean that with all due respect. Is like, if you truly don't understand how to fix this or how to manage it, you need to seek training. You need to come see us, because we have the knowledge and the expertise and the history to do it, and to help you and to provide the information, right? You have to have that trained hand and that guiding hand to kind of to clear up the picture for you, because for most people, when they have a dog like that, they understand what's happening, but they're in a fog. They can't really dissect and diagnose exactly why. And it's good to have those trained eyes.
Definitely. Well said. Now, what area is it that you cover in Georgia?
So we're based out of Richmond Hill, Georgia, right outside of Savannah. We service all the local areas. I think I may have lost you. We service all the local areas that touch Savannah: Guyton, Brinken, Tybee, Thunderbolt, all the way out to Brunswick in some cases.
Oh, I love Brunswick.
But for our board and train clients, we take board and train clients from everywhere. We have a client coming in from North Carolina. We've had clients from Chicago. We've had clients from New York. So we have a pretty large reach, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm humbled by it, because that means our work is getting out, and that's good. So, yeah.
Excellent. I've been to Savannah once. Is it called the River Walk?
Yeah, the River Walk. Yeah.
Pretty awesome down there.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Savannah's a beautiful area, and I'm thankful that the military brought me here. It's an opportunity that most people don't get, and I've pretty much stayed here my entire military career, and then started a family here and decided to settle down. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, it definitely is. And thank you so much for your service as well. I can see the flags in the background for those who are watching. Because I'm sorry, I'm not well versed on it, but the flag behind you with the one.
Yeah, so that is the symbol for 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. It kind of dates back to like the World War II era, when, where Ranger Regiment was smaller and there were more groups, and they were denoted by the diamonds with whatever group they were associated with. So you had 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Ranger Battalion. And then, all of those different groups did different tasks. Some scaled the cliffs at Point du Hoc. Some were on the beaches. Some were behind enemy lines. The Ranger Regiment has an incredible lineage dating back all the way to Francis Marion. It's always been around in some form or facet, just under different names.
So cool. Thank you for sharing that. And again, thank you for your service. What kind of dogs did you work with in the special ops?
So mainly your standard, high drive breeds, your Malinois, your Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds. But usually the German Shepherds that I worked with were a cross of a Malinois and a German Shepherd, which is an awesome cross, and when the genetics are right, because you have the biddability of a German Shepherd and the methodical brain of a German Shepherd with all the gas and drive of a Malinois, and the muscularity and the athleticism. Not that German Shepherds aren't athletic, but a Malinois is a top tier D1 athlete in the dog world. So I did work with some floppy eared breeds, like some labs, a poodle pointer, which is for people that don't know, it's not actually a poodle. It's actually more like a wire-haired terrier-looking thing, but they're upland bird dogs, and they're phenomenal. They'll run for like 30, 40 miles a day, and they don't get tired, and they do that 7 days a week. But, we've also worked with like Mastiff mixes and stuff like that, so I've been exposed to quite a number of dogs.
A kind of a fun question, but as you're sharing about breeds, if you described yourself as a breed, what breed do you think you would best align with? Like, what breed would you be?
Oh, man. Honestly, kind of like a Frenchie. Like, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I'm a little everywhere, I would like to think that I have a pretty charismatic personality. I think if you were to ask my wife that, she would be like, oh, he's a Dutch Shepherd. Like, he doesn't talk a whole lot. He just kind of stares you down. And then when he wants to go after something, he'll do it, and he'll put his head through the wall. That's probably how my wife would describe me. But I think I'm a Frenchie. Everybody loves a Frenchie, so.
That's awesome. I haven't had anybody answer with I could be a Frenchie.
Okay.
And then your logo, is that your dog on your logo for Southern State Canine?
Yeah, we've rebranded now, I think, 2 times because I'm a very particular person. I have a very clear image of what I want, our brand to look like. And finally I was like, Sim, my dog here that retired with me, he allowed me to learn so much as a handler, and as a novice dog trainer. He put up with my mistakes. He put up with, me stepping on his tail, on his toes, like giving him the wrong information at the wrong times. And he, really allowed me to kind of get my feet under me. So I thought it best fit the picture of what our business is. Because that's really what we do with our clients. We cultivate an environment for learning. We allow them to make the mistakes in a controlled setting, right? And we provide the guidance to make them better, both dog and human. So really, that's why I kind of chose him to be the representation of what Southern State Canine is, and I'm forever thankful for him.
Awesome. He sounds like a very good boy with his little grumbles.
Oh, yeah. He's very old now.
I love the old ones.
He's very much retired. He, gets fed by my kids. Whatever snack they're eating, he usually gets something. And a lot of people are going to hate that, but this dog did a number of deployments, and he's earned it. He gets a steak every now and then, so he lives the retired comfort life.
I quite enjoy the retired working dog life, and really just getting to enjoy them as they kind of wind down, and things are changing. They're getting older, so I love my old dogs. Flirty just stepped down from her little perch there, but she's almost 10 years old in December coming up. So
yeah. Nice. Yeah, my guy, I think he just turned 10 a couple months ago. So he's up there.
Now, if somebody's listening and they would like to reach out to you, what does that starting point look like? For example, like do you do an evaluation? Do you ask them questions? Because it sounds like you've made it very clear, as is true, that dogs are very unique, very different. There's no one size fits all. So just share a little bit about how that part of the process would look if someone wanted to reach out and get started with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like you said, every dog is an individual, and you can't train every dog the same. So if you want to get started with dog training with us, just shoot us a call. Go to our website, fill out our contact form. We're pretty good at getting back to you as fast as we possibly can. And really what we do is we set up that in-person evaluation because I very much want to meet the owner and I want to meet the dog, right? It's one thing to be told the behavior over the phone and have a general idea of how things are going. It's another thing to put your eyes on it. And I think a lot of my professional colleagues would agree with that, is like you're told one thing, but it looks completely different. Biting to some people, or aggression to some people, I should say, isn't quite aggression in my mind, right? Disobedience in my mind in some cases isn't exactly what the owners are telling me. A lot of times disobedience is just misplaced motivation, right? So if you want to get started with us, shoot us a call, fill out our contact form. I'm very open and I'm very transparent, and I will sit on the phone with people for sometimes up to an hour because they're in trouble. They're looking for help, and a lot of the times what they want to do is talk to somebody to kind of, one, ease their mind and to tell them, hey, we can help you, right? Or you can go to any one of our socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, at Southern State _Canine for Instagram, and then Southern State Canine Training Facebook page. You can shoot us a message on there. I'm always open to conversation. Even if you're a fellow trainer and you're having some trouble, it's always good to reach out to other people. I've reached out to tons of people as a professional myself. I'm not held captive by my own ego. If I encounter a problem that I haven't seen or I'm at my wit's end with, maybe somebody else has experienced the same thing and provide some clarity. So even if you're a professional, reach out, shoot us a call, shoot us a text, or a DM, and you don't have to fill out our contact page, but we're always open to conversation. We always want to help people.
Could you share your website URL?
Oh yeah, that's probably a big one. So our website is www.ssk9training.com. So you can find us on that, and you can Google us, Southern State Canine Training LLC. We have a pretty good presence on Google, so you should find us pretty easy.
Now, if someone reaches out, one thing that's come to mind is sometimes it's probably good for you to meet with the mom and the dad, the husband and the wife, the two decision makers, if there are two, because dogs listen different to everybody in the family. I know with Flirty, she listens better to me than to Brett. I've taken her all the way in Mondio Ring, and he's the fun guy. So yeah, it's a very different dynamic, and I think it would be good to maybe have you share a little bit about how important that may be for you to see and talk to both owners, if there are two or multiple.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always important to have any party that's involved with the dog there, right? Especially when we're talking about specific scenarios that may be the causation of why this behavior is manifesting. Strictly because mom may have one story and dad may have another. And dad may not remember every situation with the dog, but mom has the memory too, right? So it's incredibly important to have all parties there and present. And for the reason that you just described. Your dog listens and adheres more to you than dad, because dad is fun and love, right? So a lot of the times in our pet households, that's the same, but for different reasons, right? Mom, in our experience, mom is usually always home with the kiddos because we're a military town, doing everything with the dog, right? And then she's rules, boundaries, a lot of correction, a lot of perceived negative history. And then dad comes home, he's novel, always fun, always petting, always giving the treats, always playing. So it's only natural that the dog, in that sense, would want to gravitate towards the fun stuff, because it advances the dog's position, and it gives the dog what it ultimately desires. Where mom is just trying to get some structure, right? And it's a lot of conflict. So once we kind of identify that and the roles that each handler plays within the dog's life, then we can really start to pick apart things, and like where we need to insert certain structure, where we need to be like, okay, this routine is wrong, or dad, you're doing this to step on mom's toes inadvertently. We really want to have everybody there so that we can accurately diagnose the problem and pick it apart and provide the correct instruction.
And it's a lot easier for the dog when
Yes.
everybody's on the same page with their movements, their words, their tone, their mechanics,
Yes.
so that the dog's like, oh, okay, you speak in the same language now, instead of one person's maybe speaking like Dutch and the other person speaking French.
Yeah. And a lot of times we ran into that pretty heavily with a few of our last clients is, dad's saying one thing and thinking that command is a certain behavior, and mom is saying another, right? So making sure that everybody is on the same page unilaterally to provide the dog clear black and white communication, right? So that the dog doesn't live in that gray area. Because once they're in that gray area, they just start solving their own problems with the only things that they know how, right? And that's where you get the disobedience. And that's what you come to training for in the first place. So clearing up the communication, making sure everybody's on the same page is paramount important.
And could you share a little bit about what people should look for if they're looking for a professional trainer, to make sure that they don't end up with a bad fit? And what questions should they be asking? What should they be listening for, just to make sure that they find somebody like yourself that's an expert and can help them?
Yeah. So if you're going to seek professional training, one, do some research on the trainer, right? Like look at the reviews, ask people that have worked with that person what their experience was. I love when my clients message our reviewers and they're like, hey, what do you know about this trainer? And they get positive stuff back. They get positive feedback. And I'm not blind to the fact that maybe some people haven't had interaction with us, and maybe they could get that information and understand why, right? I want you to come with a clear picture of who I am as a trainer. And then do your own kind of research on dog training, right? Look at different training theories and methodologies. Come correct with questions for this trainer and see if they can articulate that information to you in an intelligent fashion, right? If you're going to market yourself as a dog trainer and tout it and claim that you have this knowledge, be able to articulate it, right? Be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. I'm not sitting here saying that like I know everything, but I know a decent amount, right? Where I could talk all day about dog training. But if your trainer that you're looking to work with can't articulate, a certain training methodology, theory, or how they do things, that's a red flag in my mind. Another red flag is if they only train one way, right? If they're like, nope, this way works and it's the only way you got to do it, that couldn't be more incorrect. The beauty of dog training, and I'm going to credit Justin for this, the beauty of dog training is that there are 1,000 ways to solve the same problem, strictly because every dog is an individual. Every dog ticks differently. They all have their own set of aversions, their own set of likes, you know, their own interpretation of pressure. You can't train every dog the same. So if there's a trainer telling you like this is the only way you got to do it, that's a red flag, because that trainer should be smart enough to figure out 9 or 10 different other ways to solve that problem, right? And then be sure that if closeness to your dog is what you want, that trainer's not trying to push you in one direction or the other. Now, they're going to advocate for what they believe is best for your dog, right? If a good trainer. Like, I may have a person that doesn't quite necessarily want a board and train, but if I know that it's going to work best for the dog, I'm going to advocate for that. But I'm not going to push them to something that they're not comfortable with, right? And I kind of pride myself on that. If a person doesn't want to train in a board and train, then simply they're not. I want them to be comfortable with me. I want them to be comfortable with our training, because we may start working through lessons and they may start to understand, okay, this is a lot of work. This is what he was talking about. Then we can transition, right? But I want to earn their trust just as much as I want to earn their dogs. So make sure that your trainer isn't pushing you in one direction and saying, this is how you got to go, where else, right? Because it's not the way, right? We can advocate for what we believe is the best for the dog, always. But our philosophy is we're never going to push you into something that you don't want to be in.
One thing that you stated earlier too, or you shared earlier, was when someone reaches out, you get on the phone with them. Olivia gets on the phone with them. You have them come in for an evaluation. And I think that that's an important piece as a professional trainer. If the trainer just is like, here's my program, sign up, and they aren't interacting with you and watching and listening, and they're just telling you, these are my programs, sign up, that could be a red flag. And I love that you are offering that. It sounds like a free option too, to have the evaluation.
Yeah. All of our evaluations are free. And a lot of the times the evaluations kind of turn into a little mini training session, just because I love what I do and I want to provide that information to people. And it shows my intellectual ability with, dogs and what I'm offering. But all of our clients generally eval. Even the people that don't want to eval. That is one thing that I do kind of drive towards, is I want to get you in person. I want you to see me. I want to see you. I want to see how you interact with your dog, because all of that is valuable information. It paints a picture of me, or for me, when it comes to training your dog. We do get people that just want to, like, okay, that's the program. That sounds awesome. That's great. And I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes, because you're telling me XYZ about your dog when it could be something completely different. Like, let's meet up first. Let's talk first and really get down to the minutia of what's going to work for you.
Excellent. Yeah, there's so much that we as dog trainers can notice. Just someone's getting their dog out of the car. Is the dog waiting at the door, bulldozing? As soon as it gets out, is it external? Is it looking everywhere? Is it shy and doesn't want to come out of the car? Like, there's things that Jared is probably observing before you even shake hands and have that introduction, because he's seeing things that might need cleaning up or confidence. So I think that in-person eval has such huge advantages.
Yeah. I'll give you a for instance. We had an eval come, and she told me, Fluffy is great. Listens, not scared of anything, just need general obedience, and I want to book now. And I was like, okay, well, come on in, let's talk. So I finally get her to come in, and she's getting the dog out of the car, and I can see the dog through the back windshield, and it's kind of just like looking everywhere, ears are pinned, and it's looking for an out. It's like, I don't want to be here, right? And as I'm telling her, like, hey, leave the car on, leave your dog for a second, like, let him adjust. She opens the door, grabs the leash, and the dog bites her 5 times. And she's owned this dog for, 3-4 years. And this dog has committed to hurting her, right? That is an example of, we're told one thing and it is definitely another thing, right? So again, that in-person evaluation is very, very important.
Thank you for sharing that little story. Would you be able to share maybe a story of a transformation that you've been a part of and helping someone with their dog that really stands out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a dog named Maggie come through, and Maggie was a mixed breed. She was, part terrier, part pit, part lab. She was a Heinz 57, a little bit of everything, and incredibly reactive, incredibly fearful, and it had turned into reactive biting. Right? She was extremely sensitive to spatial pressure. Took everything very, very personally. Like if I were to stand head on with her and tell her something, she would go into this kind of defensive, reactive state, and she's looking for an out and judging whether or not I'm moving in too close, and she's keeping me at bay, right? But long story short, I spent 2 weeks laying on the floor with that dog, just holding my arm outstretched, trying to get this dog to just accept me and to want to interact with me and to see me as valuable. And once I kind of cultivated that relationship, I got her out of her comfort zone. I gave her that confirmation of denial of like, hey, these are things that we should be worried about. These are things that we shouldn't be worried about. And I'm going to be the structure for you to lean on to guide you through these instances where you don't feel comfortable, right? She didn't have that fixed point of information that she could rotate back to and be like, hey, what do I do, right? So that dog ended up, being able to positively go out in public. So being confident, walking through crowds, being in incredibly busy public areas with other dogs, horses, music blasting, air brakes on buses, the downtown area. I exposed that dog to things that she'll probably never see again, all because it showed her that she could get through it, right? And then once we got her home and instilled the confidence in the owner, because there's a level of confidence that you have to instill in the owner too, because there's a negative history there. Their brain is telling them to load up the dog or to expect a reaction, when in reality now that is completely different. So reprogramming these second nature behaviors in the owner now and getting them up to the same level of the dog, that's easier than the other way around, because humans have a developed prefrontal cortex and we can associate better and reason. But once we got them there, we got them confident with the dog, and the dog's confident, and now we can start excelling together, right? So that's probably my most memorable transformation, because I can't state it enough. This dog came in and wanted nothing to do with me, didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink, wanted to just be away from me, was trying to run at any chance she got on the leash. She's trying to break away from me and just get out, right? Incredibly fearful. She would come out of the kennel to me and pee because she thought I was going to hurt her. So I'm very happy at that transformation.
Wow, that is such a wonderful story. And the human part that you shared, it's so critical. And I think it should give people a bit of like hope that when they're out for a walk and they see maybe a person in the distance or a dog in the distance and they start to tense up and all that stress and anxiety, that you can help them to have an enjoyable walk with their dog. Wow, that is powerful.
Yeah. And really it is. And I think people just brush it off, but to have a pleasurable experience with your dog, which is the whole reason you got a dog, to have a pleasurable experience in a cohesive relationship, to where it's mutual, is such an understated thing. A lot of times people want to do things with their dogs and they want to go on these hikes and take trips with their dog, but the behavior doesn't allow for that. Right, so that's really where we come in, and we get them living their life with their dog in a constructive fashion, right, in a positive fashion. And that's something that I'll always be proud of. Olivia actually recently had a very awesome transformation with a pit bull that was incredibly dog reactive. And we have this dog healing in downtown Savannah in Forsyth during the farmers market, where there's every dog in Savannah, and he's not reacting. He's constructively and positively walking with his owner, interacting with her, engaging with her, not choosing to engage with this negative stimulus. She can take her dog and eat at a restaurant downtown outside comfortably. And that's our only goal, is
That
to
sounds
get
amazing.
people living constructively with their dog.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today that I might have missed asking about?
No, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered all the bases.
Awesome. Awesome. Maybe share again where folks can find you, your website
Yeah,
URL.
absolutely. So if you're looking for Southern State Canine Training, you can find us at www.ssk, the number 9, training.com. You can find us on Instagram at Southern State K9. At Southern State _ K9. And then on Facebook, Southern State Canine Training. You can find us on Google, just Google Southern State Canine or SSK9, and you'll find us pretty easily. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jared, for joining me today. I really appreciate everything you've shared.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And thank you to our listeners. Again, it's Jared Warren from Southern State Canine, and I'm Lianne Shinton from Automation Dogs. And thank you for listening. And Jared, if you could stay on at the end too.
Perfect.
Thanks.